All right, welcome to another deep dive. And today we're going to be unpacking a pretty fascinating career, Bert Blevins.
Yes.
And I'm excited to dig into this. You sent this to me. I guess this is from his website, bertblevins.com. And
Yes.
I got to say, when I was looking at his background, the advertising MBA professor.
It's pretty unique, right?
Yeah, it's not your typical path you would expect to find someone in IT.
No, not at all. It speaks a lot to his perspective, though.
Okay.
I mean, think about it. Advertising's all about distilling complex ideas,
Right.
connecting with the audience, persuading them.
Yeah.
Really lends itself well to explaining the sometimes intimidating world of IT.
Yeah, absolutely. So
Yeah.
he's not just a tech whiz, he's also a communicator.
Right.
But then it also mentions here Rotary International, American Heart Association, president of the Houston SharePoint user group.
Right.
That's a lot of community focus.
Yeah, and it's more than that. It reveals a pattern,
Okay.
making complex subjects accessible. He doesn't hoard knowledge.
Right. He builds communities around it.
Yeah.
This is somebody who sees the value in collaboration, not just in technology, but human interaction as well.
Which would make sense then, that he
Right.
would be a sought-after speaker and consultant.
Right.
It's not just the technical expertise, it's that ability to, like you said, bring it down to a level that people can grasp.
Exactly. And that's a very valuable skill set.
Yeah.
Let's not get ahead of ourselves, though, before we get into what he does.
Right.
How he got there is worth noting, right? I mean, we have the academic background, obviously, but his passion for making things accessible, I think, comes through in his professional life.
Okay, so we've established that he's a good communicator, he builds community.
Right.
But what about the actual IT expertise? I mean, this mentions process optimization, collaboration, data visualization, application development.
Right.
This goes on and on.
And cybersecurity, can't forget that.
Yeah.
Almost like he's mastered the key ingredients
Right.
for any successful organization in today's world.
Yeah. But here's where it gets interesting. Instead of specializing in one,
Right.
his expertise spans across all of them.
So he's not just a specialist, he's kind of a generalist with a really deep understanding of
Right.
all these different moving parts, right?
He sees the bigger picture. I mean, imagine you're trying to optimize a workflow.
Okay.
A typical IT specialist may just focus on the technical aspects.
Right.
Bert can look at the impact on collaboration, data security, even how the process is visually represented to users.
Yeah, so it's a holistic approach.
A holistic approach.
Oh, that's fascinating. So it's like he's, like a conductor.
Right.
He's orchestrating all these different elements of IT
Right.
to create this beautiful symphony
Right.
of efficiency and security.
And security, exactly.
Maybe that's taking the analogy a little too far, but
It's a good one, though.
what you get the idea.
And it's not just large-scale organizational challenges.
Right.
This drive to optimize and streamline processes, it's evident in how he shares knowledge as well.
Okay, so you're talking about his books.
Yeah, his books.
Reducing risk with cyber insurance, exploring cloud-based privilege access management,
Right.
securely managing service accounts.
Yeah.
These are pretty specific, pretty practical topics.
They are, and it's deliberate. Right.
Right.
You know, this is somebody who thrives on making the complex accessible.
Right.
He's not writing academic treatises.
Right.
He's providing guides.
Right.
Actionable guides for real-world IT challenges.
So these aren't just for the seasoned IT professionals. This
Right.
is anyone who wants to understand, how do I protect my data?
Right.
How do I protect my systems?
Right.
So this really goes hand in hand with that overall mission of just empowering people with knowledge.
Empowering people with knowledge, exactly.
So let's get into the specifics then. What's he talking about in these books?
Okay, so reducing risk with cyber insurance. This tackles a growing concern, right, for businesses of all sizes. How do we mitigate the financial fallout from a cyber attack?
Yeah.
What I think is really insightful is that Bert doesn't just say what cyber insurance is.
Right.
He breaks down the process. How do you assess your risks?
Right.
How do you choose the right policy?
Right.
How do you make sure you're adequately covered?
Because cyber insurance isn't one size fits all.
No.
You really have to understand, what your vulnerabilities are, how to address them.
Exactly, and this is where I think that multifaceted approach really shines, right?
Right.
He can connect the dots between cybersecurity, data management, even business operations.
Right.
Help organizations develop a really comprehensive risk mitigation strategy.
So it's not just about buying the insurance.
Right.
It's about building a culture of security awareness.
Exactly. It's being proactive rather than reactive.
Yeah, that's a fantastic point. Okay, so then the second book, Exploring Cloud-Based Privilege Access Management.
Right. Now, this one delves into a topic that's essential for anybody who's working with cloud services.
Okay.
Especially those with sensitive data.
So for our listener who might not be familiar with privilege access management, break it down for us. Why is this so important, especially in the cloud?
Okay, so imagine your company's data is stored in the cloud.
Okay.
Not every employee needs access to everything.
Right.
Some folks need access to financial records, others to customer data, so on and so forth.
Right.
Privilege access management is all about controlling who has access to what data and what they're allowed to do with it.
Okay.
It's like a really secure lock system for your digital assets.
Right.
So minimizing the risk of unauthorized access, whether it's internal threats or external attackers.
So as more and more businesses move their operations to the cloud, this is going to become increasingly important to understand.
Absolutely.
So again, this isn't just for, the IT specialist.
Right.
This is CEOs, managers, this is even employees. If they're handling sensitive information, they need to understand these principles as well.
Exactly.
Okay, and then we have securely managing service accounts.
Okay, now this one gets a little bit more technical.
Okay.
But it's equally important, maintaining a secure IT environment.
So for those of us who aren't deep in the IT world, what is a service account?
Okay, so service accounts are essentially user accounts that are used by applications or services to access system resources.
Okay.
So they're not directly associated with human users.
Okay.
And they often have elevated privileges to perform certain tasks.
So they're kind of they're behind the scenes workers with special access to keep everything running smoothly.
Exactly.
Okay.
But here's the thing. If these accounts are not managed securely, they become a major vulnerability.
Okay.
Hackers can exploit poorly secured service accounts, gain access to sensitive data, even take control of systems.
Okay, so this is a big deal.
This is a big deal. So the book is essentially a guide, right?
Yeah.
How do we lock these things down?
Right.
Make sure they're not a target
for
cyber criminals.
And again, it's just so striking how he consistently takes his very technical concepts and brings them down to a level where anyone can understand.
Exactly.
It's not just about the IT professionals.
No.
It's about anyone who uses these systems or who's responsible for managing these systems to be able to, understand the risks and how to mitigate those risks.
Exactly. It's about empowering people.
Okay, so we've covered this diverse background, this passion for making complex topics accessible, all this expertise in all these different areas of IT.
Yep.
But then it mentions something kind of out of left field here, drones and virtual reality.
Okay, here we start to see Bert's unique approach to continuous learning.
Okay.
He's not just keeping up with the latest trends. He's exploring emerging technologies.
Okay, but how do drones and virtual reality fit into cybersecurity and process optimization?
Great question. It speaks to something I find very valuable about Bert's approach.
Okay.
He's not afraid to venture outside of his comfort zone.
Yeah.
He understands that innovation often comes from unexpected places.
Okay.
Right? From connecting seemingly disparate ideas.
Okay, so by venturing outside his comfort zone and exploring these new things, it's not just about learning new things, it's potentially finding new ways to apply that back to his areas of expertise.
Exactly, yeah. Think about the potential applications of drones in cybersecurity.
Right.
They could be used for surveillance, inspecting critical infrastructure, even responding to security incidents in remote locations.
Right, and virtual reality for, simulations, training.
Purposes.
So this really speaks to his commitment to always learning.
Right.
Always growing, always pushing the boundaries.
And being able to see the world through a different lens.
Yeah, and it's not just the technology. It also mentions endurance sports, Ironman triathlons, marathons.
Right.
I mean, this is serious physical challenge as well.
Yeah, they are. And it may seem completely unrelated to his professional life.
Right.
But I think there's a connection there.
What's the connection?
Well, I think both require a certain level of discipline, perseverance, willingness to push your boundaries.
Yeah.
It's about setting ambitious goals and working tirelessly to achieve them, even when you face obstacles and setbacks.
So having that mental and physical fortitude, be able to tackle these really complex challenges.
Yeah, exactly.
And see them through to the end.
And in a field like IT, where the landscape is constantly changing,
Right.
the stakes are constantly rising, those qualities, they're invaluable.
Yeah, that's a really great point. So we've got this picture of Bert Blevins as this multifaceted IT expert,
Yeah.
passionate communicator,
Right.
lifelong learner, an endurance athlete.
Yeah.
Pretty impressive combination.
Yeah, it is. What I find compelling is how these different aspects of his personality and his experiences,
Right.
they all feed into each other,
Yeah.
creating this synergistic blend
Yeah.
that allows him to excel in such a demanding field.
And that's what makes this deep dive so fascinating.
Yes.
It's not just learning about what he's done, but it's the underlying principles
Right.
that drive the success.
Exactly.
And I think that that's something that we can all apply to our own lives, our
Yeah.
own careers.
Absolutely.
You know, to be able to take some of these things that he's learned
Right.
and apply them in different ways.
And speaking of applying this knowledge, there's one more aspect I think that's worth highlighting, and it's his focus on the human element. You know, we've talked about the communication skills, the community building, but I think it goes deeper than that.
Okay.
I think Bert really understands that technology is ultimately a tool
Right.
to serve human needs.
Yeah. It's easy to get caught up in the technical details,
Right.
the algorithms, the code.
Right.
But at the end of the day, it's all about how can we use this to improve people's lives,
Right.
solve problems, create opportunities.
Exactly. And I think that's reflected in everything he does.
Yeah.
Whether he's writing a book about cybersecurity or speaking at a conference or exploring these new technologies,
Right.
there's always this underlying focus on the human impact.
It's like he's constantly asking, how can we use this technology to make a positive difference?
Exactly. And I think that's a question we should all be asking ourselves, regardless of our field, our profession.
That's a powerful message. You know, it's a reminder that technology is not an end in itself.
Right.
It's a means to an end.
Right.
And that end should be something that benefits humanity as a whole.
Absolutely. And I think that's one of the most valuable lessons we can take away from Bert Blevins.
Yeah.
You know, he's not just a brilliant technologist, he's also a visionary who understands the power of technology to shape our future for the better.
So if we were to distill Bert's approach down to a few key takeaways for our listener,
Okay.
what would they be? What can someone who's not an IT expert learn from his journey and expertise?
I think the first takeaway is the importance of being a lifelong learner.
Yeah.
You know, Bert's willingness to explore new fields, to constantly challenge himself, is really a testament to the power of continuous learning.
It's not about becoming an expert in everything.
Right.
It's about having that curiosity, that desire to understand how things work and how they can be improved.
Exactly. And the second takeaway, I would say, is the importance of connecting the dots.
Okay.
You know, Bert's ability to see the connections between seemingly disparate fields,
Right.
to draw insights from unexpected sources, that's a key driver of his success.
It's about breaking down the silos.
Right.
You know, there's artificial barriers between disciplines.
Yeah.
It's about recognizing that innovation often happens at the intersection of ideas.
Exactly. And I think the third takeaway is the importance of having a human-centered approach.
Okay.
Whether you're designing a new product,
Yeah.
building a new system, writing a new piece of code, always keep the human element in mind.
It's about asking yourself, how will this impact people?
Yeah.
How will this make their lives easier, safer, more fulfilling?
Exactly. And I think those three takeaways, continuous learning, connecting the dots, having a human-centered approach,
Yeah.
those are principles that can be applied to any field,
Yeah.
any profession, any aspect of life.
Those are fantastic insights, and it really highlights what makes Bert Blevins so remarkable.
Right.
It's not just that he's an IT expert,
Right.
but he's also a role model for anyone who wants to make a positive impact on the world.
Absolutely. And I think his story is a reminder that we all have the potential to be innovators,
Right.
to be change makers,
Yeah.
to be lifelong learners.
So as we wrap up this deep dive into the world of Bert Blevins,
Okay.
what's the one question we want our listener to ponder? What's the lasting impression we want them to take away?
I think the most important question is, how can you apply Bert Blevins' multifaceted approach to your own work
Right.
or your personal interests?
Okay.
What are those unexpected connections that you can make? What are those new frontiers that you could explore?
That's a great question. You know, it's about encouraging our listener to think outside the box,
Right.
challenge their assumptions, embrace that power of continuous learning.
Yeah. It's about recognizing that the most valuable skills in today's world aren't just technical skills.
Right.
They're human skills.
Right.
Communication, collaboration, empathy, and a genuine desire to make a positive difference.
And it's about remembering that learning is a lifelong journey.
Right.
It's one that's filled with challenges and rewards.
So if you're feeling inspired to learn more about Bert Blevins and his work, we encourage you to check out his website, bertblevins.com. You can find links to his books, articles, and speaking engagements, all of which offer a wealth of knowledge and insights into the world of IT and beyond.
And remember, the most important takeaway from this deep dive is that we all have the potential to be lifelong learners, to embrace new challenges, and to make a positive impact on the world around us.
Absolutely. And who knows, maybe someday we'll be doing a deep dive into your work and sharing your insights with the world.
That's a great thought. And on that note, we'd like to thank our listener for joining us on this deep dive into the fascinating world of Bert Blevins.
Yes, thank you.
We hope you've come away with a renewed sense of curiosity, a thirst for knowledge, and the inspiration to push your own boundaries, both personally and professionally. Until next time, keep exploring, keep learning, and keep pushing the limits of what's possible.
Yeah, it's about finding that spark, right? And just letting it guide you. As we've been unpacking all this, the professional achievements, the diverse interests, there's one more aspect I don't think we've really touched on.
Okay.
That kind of ties everything together beautifully.
Yeah, and it's his generosity in sharing his knowledge.
Yeah.
It's one thing to accumulate expertise, right?
Right.
It's a whole other thing to actively make it accessible to others.
Right.
Bert's commitment to teaching, mentoring, and building community.
Yeah.
It's a testament to his character, I think.
Yeah, it speaks to, deep understanding of how knowledge works, right? It's not about hoarding it.
Right.
It's about sharing it.
Right.
Letting it flow freely and watching it multiply as others build upon it.
Exactly. I think that's a powerful message for all of us, whether we're experts in our field
Right.
or just starting out on our learning journey.
Yeah.
I think we all have something valuable to contribute.
And by sharing it, right, by mentoring others, by building those communities of learning,
Right.
we create that ripple effect that extends far beyond just ourselves.
Exactly.
And we empower others to achieve their full potential.
Right.
And in doing so, we enrich the world as a whole.
Beautifully said.
So I think that's the legacy that Bert Blevins is building.
Right.
It's a legacy of knowledge, empowerment, making a positive impact on the world through technology and human connection.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
So to wrap up our deep dive into the world of Bert Blevins, I encourage you to explore his website, bertblevins.com.
Yeah?
You'll find all kinds of resources there, his books, his articles, speaking engagements, all that good stuff. But more importantly,
Right.
I hope you've come away with that inspiration to embrace continuous learning, to connect the dots,
Right.
approach technology with that human-centered mindset.
And remember, the most valuable lessons are often found outside of our comfort zones.
Yeah.
So don't be afraid to explore new ideas, challenge your assumptions, and connect with other people
Right.
who share your passion for learning and innovation.
Thank you for joining us on this journey of discovery. Until next time, keep exploring, keep learning, and keep pushing the boundaries of what's possible.